Yo, what is up guys? It is Infected Survivor here, back at it again with another video, and today we are going to do episode 2 of the Review Character series. Today we are going to be on the zombie side, and we are going to be reviewing the Electrician. Probably one of my favourite classes, the engineers overall, on the zombies to be honest. I really like this class, really good ability setup. Just one thing before we get into the electrician as a whole. As the engineer class, the abilities wise, when it comes to the jackhammer, I highly recommend you use turbo jackhammer over the normal jackhammer. Just because I feel like the turbo jackhammer is just far better than the normal one. But I do see a lot of people using the normal one. At the end of the day, it is your choice. But I just thought I'd get that little thing out there that I personally would recommend the turbo jackhammer. Now, today's episode, as you can see, clearly is the Electrician. Quite a popular zombie to use, especially in turf. I see a lot of people using the Electrician. And I think the Electrician is a decent little character, to be honest. I quite like this character. As I said, I am quite a fan of the engineers overall. And engineer is certainly not a bad one. I think his range... Well, the one thing that engineers especially lack, and the electrician is no different, is the primary weapon. It doesn't go like unlimited distance. It sort of pops after a bit. So if you want to shoot people from like over there, it's going to explode before it gets to them. That's one thing to keep in mind with engineers. So they're not as campy as some of the other characters, but they do specialise in splash and fairly high damage with a slow fire rate, to be fair. And the Electrician, I think, does about 38 damage from all sorts of ranges. From over here, he's probably hitting 38, and at close, I think it's 38 with the upgrades. And he's got a splash. Obviously, it varies depending on where you hit the splash. But I think the best splash he does is 10 splash, and he has the chain lightning. So overall, I think quite a decent little character. I don't really have many bad things to say about him. His fire rate, as you can see, it isn't the fastest fire rate in the game, but 38 damage with splash, with chain lightning, is not bad at all. To be fair, I do think he's quite a good engineer. I don't think he's probably in the upper band. I do feel like he's quite overly used compared to some of the other engineers, I must say. Like I said, I do see a lot of people use this character over the other engineers, and I do think there are better engineers than this guy. Like welder, mechanic. I think Roadie Z's good, but that depends on your play style. There's just some that I think are probably a bit more better than this character, but I do think this character is quite good. Now, unlike Vampire Flower like we did last time, I am a big fan of the engineer class as a whole, so it probably is a bit more biased opinion. However, I do overall believe that Electrician is a very usable character, and I think if you haven't gave him a go already, I don't think he's a bad character to pick up. Again, we are going to be doing Team Vanquish over turf. And we are doing offline just to avoid the online gameplay, to be honest. And like I say, I do think that people don't realise that Turbo Jackhammer is as good as it is. So that's just one thing I would say, is that Turbo Jackhammer, personally, I would use over the regular one. There isn't that much difference in distance it travels you, but I just think the speed of the actual jackhammer itself is more beneficial to use as the class as a whole. But the red jackhammer is fine. It's not very quick. It doesn't really get you that far. It's just, I don't know. It's just too slow for me, and I just think the regular jackhammer is just. I think it used to be a lot better than what it is. But as the turbo jackhammer got buffed back in the day, is a lot better, and I don't think people necessarily realise that. Now, as you can probably see in the gameplay here, Electrician is definitely a specialist at groups of plants. One-on-one, he's not the best, and he certainly wouldn't be my top pick on a one-on-one. But for a group of zombies, especially in turf, you can just sort of sit in the back, fire your little electric bolts down the lane. And because of the chain lightning, coupled with the splash and the 38 damage, it's going to be bouncing off so many different people and racking up the damage quite quickly. So I do think this guy is quite a strong character overall. I don't think he's anything crazy good. Like, I don't think he's like in game mode like Team Vanquish in multiplayer. He's probably not as good because up close, like I say, he's not the best because he's got quite a slow fire rate. If you miss your shot, you're only doing like 10. And he's very slow without the jackhammer. Like, he's very slow. And I mean, I'm not going to even talk about what just happened there because that is ridiculous. However, that is an example. The stun grenade, while it doesn't show there, is another really good ability to have as the engineer, a class as a whole, because it's pretty much an instant win button. But in most cases, it's especially effective against your chompers. So overall, I do think this guy's quite a defensive, kind of sit in the back and just use the splash sort of character. I don't think you really want to be taking this guy into head-to-head combat, because most of the time you're gonna lose. Even like on that situation there, for the one-on-one, if you're only hitting the splash, it's not really going to be doing much. But if there's like 3, 4, 5 plants in that one area and you're only hitting the splash, it's going to rack up damage quickly. Plus the chain lightning. That's what makes this guy quite effective. And 38 damage is really strong. Really up close, that is really strong. I do find that the Bolt Blaster ability on engineers, I don't find myself using much, just because I find myself, well, I hate to say it, but sitting in the back a lot and just abusing the splash as engineers. Unless you play like mechanic or like PvZ or AC parry, then it's different. However, overall, I think this is quite a strong character. I was quite, I'd say he's quite, is it maybe a mid-tier engineer overall. I do think he's very strong, but is he as good as some of the others? No, but he's also quite, I don't want to say underrated, but I do feel that a lot of people sort of avoid using this character. If they don't like engineers that much, they sort of just think, like use mechanic or PvZ. They don't necessarily bother with Electrician. I think he's one of them characters where if you play him, you know how good he is, especially in turf. But it's one of them characters that I feel like people could avoid, because there's other characters like the mechanic, like PvZ, that are probably better overall, a bit more aggressive, which suits most people's playstyle. In terms of upgrades, he gets, let's have a look. He gets a damage, a reload, and an ammo. So a fairly standard group of upgrades. Yes, he gets health, but I don't know who's really going to be running the health on Electrician. The other upgrades are kind of useless, to be honest. But he gets some good upgrades, which is nice. It's good that he does get a damage upgrade over like a electricity upgrade. I don't know if any character has that. But I think these 3 abilities are, not abilities even, upgrades, are realistically what you want to be running on a character like Electrician. Like I say, I do think characters like Welder, Mechanic, maybe even Painter, PvZ, I think they are probably better than the Electrician. But I would probably give Electrician probably the 5th spot potentially for engineers as a whole. I think the engineer class overall is it's quite an interesting class. You mostly see them played in turf because of they're more needed in turf with the fact that they can build the portals, the teleporters. So I think in turf they are more electrician, especially in turf, is more useful because obviously it's more grouped in turf, so you can use the splash more, the chain lightning. So in turf is going to be much more useful. So I'd recommend using this character mostly in turf. Outside of turf, probably wouldn't be playing him necessarily. Like, yes, the damage is still great, the splash is still decent, but you can definitely get way more damage in quickly just playing like the mechanic, to be honest. Whereas in turf, you can just sit in the back and abuse the splash from the points, which is realistically what this character specialises in. So overall, as an overall review of this character, I would say he is a very good character, to be honest. I think he's very good, especially in turf. Maybe not so much in other game modes, but in turf, I would give him a try if you haven't already. I didn't use this guy a whole lot on turf when the zombies were on the defense side of things. I usually used him when they were attacking, mostly because of the portal benefits, which gives you more XP to level him up, which is just quicker overall. And mostly because, again, you can just sort of camp in the back, you can abuse the splash, you're going to have a much better time with a character like Electrician when you can, it's a bit more campy. Because this character's main gimmick is relying on the chain lightning, groups of plants, and chain, and the splash. That is his main thing. Like, you're going to be in a group like that, as you just saw, you're going to be hitting multiple targets with one shot, which over time is going to rack up to so much damage spread across multiple people. You'll probably get a few shares, some assists, maybe a kill or two. So yeah, I think even at low level, to be fair, this character is still quite very usable at low level. Like the last episode with Vampire Flower, I don't think she's very good at low level, but Electrician, I think you can still get a pass with him. I don't think he's anything special, the Electrician, but I do think he's quite a good character there. If you haven't already, I would give him a try. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the character reviewing series. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please do leave a like, subscribe if you would like some more videos like this, and yeah, I really appreciate everybody that watches these. And leave any suggestions below for any characters you want to see next. So yeah, peace out.